Now we can move into something more fun.
Yeah, this was our badass of the week. This is a new segment we came up with last week. You and I had more fun than we realized we were going to. I think this week's going to be even more fun because we basically take the 4 or 5 players or whoever's had the best week since we last podcasted. Essentially, is how we're going to do it. First episode, we hadn't done a podcast for the first couple of weeks of the season, so that encompassed 2 or 3 starts by pitchers and quite a few games by our position players. But 5 players this week really emerged with having badass weeks in my mind. I think you didn't have. I'm not sure if you needed to add anyone to the list I sent over, but
No.
we've got 3 position players and 2 pitchers, and part of this can be anything we want. Who's a badass? It could be even one play, even one hit, and I think that comes to mind when the aforementioned Jake Berger hit a 118 plus mile an hour home run last night. A 3-run homer. That was actually game 2 of that doubleheader where you lost game 1. You're on such a negative roll. Getting that home run in the first inning, going up 3-0, was a huge boost. That I think probably gave Giolito a little breathing room, could relax a little bit, where he wasn't
Yeah.
having to fight for every run. But you had more stats about that home run specifically.
Yeah, it's the hardest hit home run since I think Statcast has been doing this since like what, 2015 or something like
Yes.
that. It's the hardest recorded home run by a White Sox player in that time period. It was also the hardest home run of the season so far. After your phones may have been going off if you get MLB alerts that Ohtani in his first at bat in New York had ripped a 116.5 or something mile an hour home run, and everyone
That
was lauding that.
Yeah, that sounded
So
cool at the time, but when you go 118,
yeah, when you go 118, fuck you, Ohtani.
whatever, dude.
Yeah, Ohtani, you're so great.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so it's great. It's nice to see him after having the two. Also, he had the two
Achilles
Achilles
injuries.
injuries.
Yeah.
To see him not just being back in baseball, but it's been such a strange road for him to the majors and being overly productive, I would say. Even
Yeah.
over this past week, the rest of the stats I can run through right here that you so
Well,
graciously provided.
he had 4 home runs this week alone,
Yeah,
I think. What did I write his OPS down? Yeah, it was like
yeah,
11.
1130.
Yeah. I
So
mean, that is worthy of being our badass of the week. All these candidates I think are really good this week, so this is going to be fun to come to a conclusion. I'm not going to be upset about what we come to. I'm not going to fight for a cub or a tiger in this case, even. But I think Berger would be kind of cool. Just, I mean, he certainly is worthy because of his OPS over the week and 4 home runs. But 118 mile an hour home run is fucking badass. Who is next on that list there? I think I had
we got the
Patrick
Patrick
Wisdom.
Wisdom.
He had 5 home runs in 4 games at one point this week.
Yes.
His OPS right now is 12. What?
1286.
He had a triple this
2 run
afternoon.
triple.
Yeah. My God. I always write him off. I think of him as a journeyman, and mainly because I was introduced to him, and I think most Cubs fans were at the same time you were introduced to Frank Schwindel and all the other nameless Cubs players over this bleak last couple of years, and who knows where Frank Schwindel is even at anymore. But Patrick Wisdom has made the most of his time. He was a highly touted prospect in the Cardinals organization of all things that was subsequently let go at one point, and Cubs have capitalized on that now. So that's a hell of a week. Did I have any other stats written down for him? I forget now, but
No. Was it he? And I feel like he is like he goes through these crazy streaks because weren't him and Schwindel both on like some crazy homer streak last year?
yeah, there was a time when they were neck and neck. I think Wisdom far outpaced him by the end of the year with 30 some home runs, but
Yeah, there were some fun little stories there last year, but yeah, he's heck of a 4 games there. Dang.
Well, yeah, and the OPS is based on the last 7 days.
Okay.
That's the other thing. It's hard to pull stat. Like I had to pull all these stats within like the last hour because all our teams were playing this afternoon. So all I do is go to the MLB last 7 game stats. That's what I'm going to do going forward. But I had the other things written down that he already had 5 home runs in 4 games. So pretty badass.
Cody Bellinger.
Well, that's a badass of another color. That's badass on every level of baseball. He's only got 2 home runs, but his OPS is way up there. Do you have that right there?
His OPS is 1117.
Yeah, I mean 1100 OPS. But he's also stolen a couple bases. He's also robbed a home run, famously robbed the potential Jason Hayward home run in LA over the weekend that would have been pounced upon by journalists. Anyone looking at the irony of the Cubs getting rid of Jason Hayward finally, and where he finally emerges with power somehow. But that was thwarted by a brilliant grab over the fence. Bellinger, I was worried, in our Nostradamus prediction show preseason. I was not expecting anything out of him offensively, as we talked about. He has famously been an MVP and then just completely forgot how to hit over the last several years. And an organization like the Dodgers would be able to figure that out, where I'm surprised that the Cubs have been able to figure it out thus far. I was counting on his defense, and he has shown every bit of that. Just dominating center field. He even made a great catch this afternoon in Oakland, their cavernous outfield. So that's one thing that I probably downplayed a little bit too much when we were doing our Nostradamus predictions, and I had such a dour idea what the Cubs might be this year. The defense is really what they built this around, and that's fun. But if you're not hitting the ball, it doesn't really matter. So far, Cody Bellinger is doing all of it.
He is. He's definitely making the most of this 1-year contract. I was going to go I was going to go a different route there, but then he's definitely making.
You can see the wheels turning. I don't know if you're getting sick or something.
Of this 1-year contract, and
it is the 1-year $17.5 million deal that.
Yeah.
Is he motivated just to get a better free agent contract, or I don't know what's going on. That works to the Cubs' favor right now for sure.
It does. He did have a pretty good April last year with the Dodgers. That's what I was looking up.
Okay.
Wanted to see how if he's a hot starter and then slowly
they figure him out
or what happened. But
that's interesting.
His OPS on April 24th was 915 last year.
Okay.
So
that's pretty damn good. So that's interesting. And we'll monitor that.
Yeah, and by the end of the season, it was 654. So
no, we'll monitor that on a weekly basis if we have to.
If we have to, I don't think we have to do that. But
well, if he continues to be a badass, we will.
Yeah, we will.
So those are the position players. Yeah. So we like to group our position players. We'll go back through those and decide which the best one is there. But we also have 2 candidates, I think, for badass as a pitcher.
And one's a Tiger.
I had to get a Tiger on here because I don't think it's going to be very often we're going to have a Tiger being badass of the week. But Eduardo Rodriguez actually had a 8-inning shutout performance against the Guardians yesterday. Second part of a doubleheader. 10 strikeouts, 4 hits is all he gave up. Just a masterful performance they swept a doubleheader of all things from the Guardians, which Cleveland has been a thorn in the Tigers' side for a long time. I think, was it last year or 2 years ago? They lost like 17 of the 18 or 19 games they played against them. So to sweep a doubleheader was ridiculous. And to have Eduardo Rodriguez, who was absent a lot of last year for personal issues, which ended up I believe being a family situation. I believe he's divorced now. For him to be able to come back and start to fulfill the massive contract that he signed was really encouraging. It was really cool to see. It was a really shitty day, really cold, windy day. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. Did not adversely affect him as much as it adversely affected the Cleveland hitters. So had to get a Tiger on the Badass of the Week nomination list at some point.
Yeah, and then rounding it out is the aforementioned Lucas Giolito performance, a no-hitter through 6, 7 Ks, 1 walk versus the Philadelphia Phillies yesterday in the second game of that doubleheader due to inclement weather on the Monday. So, yeah. So let's see. I want to give the position player thing to Jake Berger, but I like the well-roundedness of things
with Bellinger. Yeah, because technically you could say that power-wise, Wisdom outpowers over the week, outpowers Berger, except for the one awesome hit. That's kind of why I want to give it to Berger, just to do a badass of the week based on one play and other performance. But the well-rounded week that Bellinger had on all sides of the ball is so cool, and I don't know how often we'll see that.
Yeah, it's a 5-tool week, as we'd like to say.
It would be a 5-tool week. That's a great way to put it. So
I'd be okay with giving it to Cody Bellinger this week.
Wow, I was not expecting that. Even at any point necessarily going into the season that we'd be nominating Cody Bellinger, but I think he may have earned it. I guess we'd put him up against whoever we decide between the two pitchers. If we want to break those two performances, excellent, badass performances down.
I mean, again, Eduardo Rodriguez, when I know
the 2 extra innings.
Yeah, the 2 extra innings, the 10 Ks, the 3 more Ks, struck out Jose Ramirez 3 times, and he didn't record a walk.
That's huge. The other part, I forgot to bring that up. He struck out Jose Ramirez, probably the best hitter in the American League. Struck him out 3 times.
Yeah,
actually, it was he struck out a 4th time to end the game. Actually, so I think they wanted to get the fuck out of there. the Guardians wanted no part of that weather yesterday in Comerica Park. But I guess no hit, 6 no hit innings is great, but something about 8 innings, especially on a double header, when you're trying everything you can to not tax your bullpen for the next couple of days. Tigers pitchers took care of that, and Eduardo Rodriguez really did a masterful job. Only letting way to 1 inning being pitched by Jason Foley. So,
well, wasn't that doubleheader done in like just over 4 hours?
That's another remarkable thing. It was actually 5 hours total from the start of game 1 to the end of game 2, which included a 45-minute break in between games.
Yeah,
I think the first game was 2 hours and 30 some minutes. Second game was an hour and 50 something minutes. So it was like a Burley game. That's the other reason you should like the Eduardo game, because it was essentially a Burley game.
So
you're going for Eduardo for the pitcher? Okay, so it's Eduardo versus Cody Bellinger, and I think
here's the problem with the in my eyes a pitcher's always going to have is it's only 1 game, right?
Yes. Yep.
And
we did already give our first badass of the week to Marcus Stroman, 2-way pitcher last week,
because that was culminated over.
Well, and that was a different situation. Yeah, you're right. That was a different situation because we hadn't done an episode in quite a while, so it was like it ended up being 3 starts that we were talking about. So
I almost think if we are going to nominate pitchers, we can't actually put them up against a position player. I almost think we have to give, if we want to do it, we have to give a pitcher badass of the week, so we could work relievers in here now and shit like that, and then give a position player badass of the week. But
you're making this very complicated.
Well, I'm just saying.
I think we could just make a decision.
Well, I'm going to go with Cody Bellinger.
no one's getting a bonus in their contract.
Well, you never know.
You and I are not going to get paid more or less because of this
Cody
decision.
Bellinger is my choice.
All right, I think we can agree on Cody Bellinger. I would have been happy with anybody. That's what's already fun with this with this segment. So maybe you and I are the only ones having fun in this segment, but that's the whole point. That's why we're doing a podcast. So because you and I fucking love this shit so much. So this is already working. We'll continue to develop the rules as you and I both see fit and can agree upon.
Yeah, that's right. We will.
Or get so exhausted that we no longer want to argue anymore. Whatever the case may be. So
something like that.
Cody Bellinger, you are our badass of the week.
Word Hole Media.